Namaste, viewers, listeners, to this very special SATTE podcast in association with Reemarkabl. Our guest today is a gentleman who talks with passion not just about his country, but about his country vis-a-vis the power that it holds in the world scenario. We have Mr. Naveen Kundu, the Managing Director, EbixCash Travel Services and the founder of Leisure Corp, with us, sharing his views about why he believes totally in the India story, why he feels India is at the brink of a wonderful journey in tourism, why he feels MICE is truly nice, why he feels SMEs are totally India's mainstay in the tourism sector, and why domestic tourism has the power to rule. Ladies and gentlemen, Naveen Kundu is here to tell you why he believes in the India story and why he feels the future is all about this beautiful country's tourism life. Naveen Kundu, sir, thank you so much for joining us at the SATTE podcast. And we are here to listen to you and your vision of what you feel India is all about.
Thank you, Reema. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to come on this podcast and talk about the story of India. You know, I'm obsessed by my country. I'm obsessed by the idea of India. I'm obsessed by the aspirations that India has now. I don't know whether you've seen a movie called Purab Pachchim. In that, there is this little song which says, Dashamlo diya mere Bharat ne, mere Bharat ne, mere Bharat ne, दुनिया को तब गिनती आई धरती और चांद की दूरी का अंदाजा लगाना मुश्किल था देता ना दशमलव भारत तो यूं चांद पे जाना मुश्किल था. Now that is India. We are recreating India to be what it was once, the bird of gold. And I believe and I feel that India will become the bird of gold again. And only one sector will make it become the bird of gold, and that's tourism. Nothing but tourism.
Wow.
I know we have industry doing very well, we have IT doing very well, we have telecommunications doing well, we have their entire export industry doing very well. Of course, they should do well. We have agriculture doing very well now. But today, India and Indian tourism is aspirant. We know we are resilient, and Indian story has to be now told to the world, as our government of the day is doing. The Prime Minister goes to every country and talks about the story of India. Everybody who's traveling today is just talking about the story of India. I feel if we have to bring last mile economic and social empowerment, it will come from tourism. Because when infrastructure gets created, which is getting created, by the way, and when we are able to create infrastructure to the last mile, it is only and only tourism sector which will bring the economic and social empowerment to every Indian in the last mile, because he or she will be connected with the tourists and the tourism in some way or the other, directly or indirectly, which we know. And when more and more people within our own country will travel to those locations, they will talk about it, and the way they will feature India overseas, they will talk about India overseas, people from overseas will start coming to India more and more. India will be a bird of gold once again. And I again repeat, it is not just my obsession about India, it is my belief that it's India's century.
Super.
I'm not really talking about, and therefore across all the tourism offerings that we have in India, look at the convention centers that are being built up, the whole idea, whole euphoria that has been created about India. Look at G20 has come to India, and while G20 on one side is testing tourism of India, but it's also creating an impression of our country in 20 large countries. So I think it is India's century, and it's going to be tourism all the way. We are at the cusp of a tourism outburst.
Absolutely.
All we need is just a little bit of push from the government, and we'll be flying.
I think our India is a pot of gold, as you said, and this gold is now ready for the world to really come and explore, experience, and just be there with us all through this. And of course, the G20 is a fabulous eye opener to the world. Really, Naveen, you've always spoken mice. You've said, and I must appreciate, Naveen, when you told me that you appreciate and you respect your past, your predecessors, people who built the real India story. It's respected Mr. Dave, his son Uttam Dave. You spoke about Prem Subramaniam. You spoke about such wonderful people of the past, and you appreciate their work, and through them you learn so much. And you also said that you have a lot of faith in India's my story. You keep saying that we have a plan for mice, and what you did few years ago with your vision. Can you please share it with our audience? We'd love to hear this.
Okay, I mean, you've touched my emotional chord.
I think so.
You know what? The love for mice just didn't come because I ran a mice company. The love for mice came when we were building choice hotels in India. And we were a very upcoming budding organization, and I had the opportunity of working with the two greats of this industry, Mr. A.K. Dave and Mr. Uttam Dave. They were primarily the most visionary people I've ever met when it comes to the tourism and hospitality sector of India. We spoke about a lot of other people. I remember meeting Arjun Sharma at various forums, and I remember meeting Mr. Indra Sharma. I remember meeting Mr. Ghulam Naqshband, Avinash Anand, Gautam Khanna, Netra Rana, Prem Subramaniam. They laid the very foundation of the tourism industry in India. Wow. And they set the fabric for what Indian tourism today is and what it will be in the future. Coming to MICE, so when we used to discuss hotels in choice hotels, I always found one thing very, very intricate about Mr. Uttam Dave. We used to call him Yudi. Whenever he used to plan every hotel, he would first go, okay, where is the meeting area? How big is the meeting area that you're building? Where is the pre-function? So I would observe him. I'm a very observant man anyways, and I used to observe him. And I used to go up to him. I said, what is it that, what is it that you, every hotel, you look at these conference rooms. He said, Naveen, every hotel builds rooms and restaurants. India is not even aware of what meetings and conventions will do to this country. The hoteliers in Goa, the kind of hotels have been built in Goa, whether it was a Taj Fort Aguada, a Taj Holiday Village, or a Leela, they had small conference rooms. And he said, Naveen, India is going to be an economic power. Where is the space to hold me? And when you have to become an economic power, please understand, MICE is a meetings business. When India is going to become an economic power, there will be conferences, there will be meetings, there will be meet and greet. Where will people do that? So hotels have to learn to build big conference rooms. Hotels did not have, they would just, for them the mind was small groups who will come to India or who will go to Goa, give them room. Indian perspective was just about tourism was people traveling, having good food, enjoying and going back. Corporates and MICE and meetings was not an agenda at all at that time. So I caught on to that. I said, this is the sector. And you know what Yudi did? When he was at the Accor, he actually worked with Chandrababu Naidu to build HICC, the convention center at Hyderabad, which was the first largest convention center India could get. Exactly. Now that's what my school is. So that's an institution I graduate from. You understand?
Totally understand.
I'm not talking about my engineering college or my management college. I'm talking about my graduation from Mr. Uttam Dave, who taught me this. And from there I said, okay, yeah, Indian, and I started doing more and more work in understanding the meetings and incentives industry in India. And I still feel that whatever this government has done in the past 8 years, or the government before that did, we did lay foundations for some large convention centers, like the way Geo Convention Center came in India, or the Pragati Maidan is now being built as a convention center. There is a Dwarka Convention Center coming up. But still, I think it is just the beginning. It's not the beginning also. Large industrial houses need to think about one thing, that while they're building big businesses like Taj is building hotels, Oberoi is building hotels, where have they built a convention center? They should have led the way. In 1982, India did not have a convention center, and Kashmir had one.
Exactly.
And what a location.
What a location, really. I mean, I'm telling you, this was an eye-opener for me when they took me there and they said, look, this is a convention center. I said, like, is it true we don't have it in Mumbai, we don't have it in Delhi, and we have it in Kashmir? I mean, really, that's India's story, really, Naveen.
That's an irony. That's an irony. That's an agony. Why was this not? Why? And again, I tell you today, Reema, that this is something which has to change. The mindset of the governments have to change.
Yes.
Today, I go and talk to Haryana government, or I go and talk to Maharashtra government. I tell them to build convention centers, and then they say, okay, we'll identify land. Tell us what will you give, what will you do. ऐसे नहीं होता है. This is not the way. Then they will make this 100-page document, and you have to go through each one of them. There'll be so many clauses. Come on, man. Ease of doing business is what we are talking about. Identify a land, give it for 99 years, invite industrialists, and build a convention center.
An end of story, yeah. I mean, we talk about single...
And today, building a convention center does not take years.
Yeah. And we're constantly talking about single window clearance, and most importantly, Naveen, every article or whatever I've written for so many, every time we mention, can we please put the tourism on the concurrent list? Do you also feel that?
Look, if India has to make it big globally in tourism, and we need to look, first and foremost, we need to understand what is a priority. Yeah. The priority is not outbound, though that's a very major part of my business.
Yeah.
I'm very happy that there is a TCS levied on the outbound traveler today. I'm very happy about it.
Yes.
Because if my foreign exchange of this country is going out,
yes,
a person going out should not have a problem in paying a very minuscule TCS to the government.
Mm-hmm.
And my appeal to the rest of the organizations in travel business who are harping on the fact that TCS should go because their business is suffering. No, their business is not suffering. A person who wants to travel abroad will travel abroad and pay this TCS. But I'm happy about it. There should be a TCS levied because my foreign exchange is going out. But what I want to happen is that if India has to become a global receipt, a power in the receipt of the tourism in this country and become a big power, it will not happen just by normal tourism. MICE will be the most important part of it because that will give you volume, numbers, scale, and penetration.
Absolutely.
This is very important.
Sure.
Because it's an inclusive tourism.
Sure. Naveen, how important do you think, the government, we've been, professionals like you, people like me in our way in the media profession, have constantly spoken about putting tourism on the concurrent list. We are requesting them constantly to please give us industry status. We are also saying it's time that tourism is treated with more respect. And I personally feel there should be a nice tourism council, rock solid, just
now you're saying about the tourism. Now you're saying about tourism council. I've been saying for 10 years. See, last 5 years, I've been sending a 6-point agenda to the government for every budget. We need to, first and foremost, make it a priority sector on the concurrent list.
Exactly.
We need to abolish these overseas offices and have PR companies overseas appointed so that they can build the story of India and create a PR campaign outside so that India goes into the deep minds of everybody across the globe. Number 3 is to lay emphasis on meetings and incentives, create an incentive package, give GST benefit to all overseas tour operators and basically corporations, so that they can announce India as a destination for their upcoming conferences, meetings, events, and exhibitions. We have to do that. The Indian tourism has to have a budget to return some part of the taxation back. That is what India has to do, create that kind of subsidy to corporations overseas. And number 4, corporations within India. Because India corporate is a big corporate now, and why should they go abroad and remit money overseas? Ultimately, it is our foreign exchange going abroad. So we should also give them some kind of a subsidy.
Wow.
Reclaim GST and do whatever so that they can do more and more conferences in India. That is where the volume will come. I'm always saying that tourism should be an industry. And 6th, I'm saying build last mile connectivity.
Okay.
We have 406 airline strips which are unserviced completely.
Wow. Yeah.
None of our national parks have a flight landing. Not even a 9 to 11 seater. We have 60 hill stations, only 8 have airstrips. Or let's say maybe they have airstrips, but only 8 have direct connectivity of flights. Now, so we have to build last mile connectivity. So my request to government has always been a 6-point agenda. If you see in the last 5 years, this is what I've been saying. A lot of work is being done, like the Udan scheme came in. A lot is being done, but a lot more has to be done. A lot more has to be done. To have worked with some veterans in the tourism industry. And I was even more lucky because I had some 50-60 large CEOs as my clients during my tenure at the Leisure Corp, and they are even the clients today. And I've seen, I must tell you this obsession about India does not just come automatically.
Yes.
I'm inspired by them. I'm inspired by Mr. Aditya Puri. I'm inspired by Mr. Uday Kotak. I'm inspired by Anand Mahindra. I'm inspired by Dr. Anish Shah. I'm inspired by Sandeep Bakshi. I'm inspired by Amitabh Chaudhary. These are the CEOs, and I've heard them speak because I've handled MICE, and I've heard them speak. Their idea is just not their own companies or their own life or their own wealth. Their idea is the idea of building a great India, an India that is at the forefront of growth, which creates not only economic and social empowerment for people in India, but to even people overseas. So, I'm inspired by them. I got 2 national awards. And I think in my way, if I can contribute to the story of India in any manner, I find that this life has been well spent.
Awesome. No, I mean, you spoke to me on the sidelines of the impact that India's corporate has made on you, and how beautifully you mentioned that they were true corporates who were not myopic. They looked beyond their own businesses. They looked beyond boundaries. And that's what has touched your chord. And I think that
they solved the problems of India.
And you work closely with them, and that's like, it's just not about newspaper reports about them.
I was just a service provider.
Yes.
Probably a lot of them would not even know my name.
Sure.
But because I've heard them in the MICE forums that I've organized,
yes,
because I've heard them, yes, it has laid a lasting impression on me.
Awesome. I can, yes. I mean, as I keep saying when I've introduced you, your passion is just not, just fashionable, but it's so much with a purpose. And, on this very, very beautiful note, Naveen, how do you see this entire experience of people-to-people connections, which organizations such as SATTE brings to the forum? Frankly, it's their 30th year this year, and, it's been a journey that SATTE has taken to bring the industry together at various forums. I think they have been an organization that has actually brought in a lot of life back. And to do a mega event like that post the pandemic, what's your opinion, Naveen?
So, Reema, I have to rush for the airport, but yeah, I think you touched a very important subject. Let me tell you, if there weren't forums like SATTE, you have to understand and appreciate that tourism can only grow when there is a people-to-people connect, because it's a people's industry. You cannot have robots talking about.
Exactly.
You can have robots rendering some part of service, but you have to have people-to-people connect. So forums like SATTE, and of course SATTE has done so much for the tourism development of this country. I'm so proud to be seeing SATTE the way it has come up, because it is today on the lines of World Travel Mart and ITB Berlin. SATTE is of that scale property today that India has, and I'm really impressed for what they've done. And I say, if there was no SATTE, where would the people to people connect from? And if that wouldn't happen, how would the Indian tourism grow? So SATTE and such forums are very, very important. And these are trade shows. Without them, uh, the buyer sellers cannot meet, and if they don't meet, they don't talk relevant business. And these forums are key to the success of the tourism in India.
Ladies and gentlemen, just a little bit. Naveen wasn't really well, but he said, no, I have to do this because I believe this is a story that needs to be told. Naveen Kundu, we are so grateful. We're so thankful for you to spare your time. I know you're rushed, but you gave me your precious few hours actually, because we've been discussing this on and off. But appreciate it, truly grateful and humbled as well, and wish you a very, very successful tenure with all that you're trying to achieve. And I'm sure, as you completely say, India's story is just beginning. And together we can, Naveen. I, Reema Lokesh, the founder and editor of Reemarkabl, say namaste to you as a remarkable personality, and all the very best.